I told my girlfriend if she needs to text her ex, she can date him again. So I guess I'll just throw this out there because I honestly don't know if I'm being totally unreasonable or if I finally just snapped after ignoring red flags for too long. For context, I'm a 27M and my girlfriend is 26F. We've been together for almost 3 years, living together for the past year and a half. On paper, things are great. We get along, we laugh a lot, we've talked about the future in a semi-serious way, like marriage someday, not tomorrow, but still. I've never really had a huge reason to doubt her, until recently. Here's the thing that landed me here. I told her, straight up, if you feel the need to keep texting your ex, then maybe you should just date him again. And as soon as the words left my mouth, I had that weird out-of-body feeling where you hear yourself saying something you didn't plan on saying and think, wow, did I just nuke this relationship? The reason I'm writing is because I can't stop obsessing over whether what I said was a fair boundary or just me being insecure and controlling. Like, do normal couples allow this? Am I the crazy one for thinking exes should stay in the past is a totally reasonable expectation? Or did I just let my jealousy and pride wreck something good? I guess I'm hoping for some outside perspective because right now I feel torn between guilt because she looked really hurt when I said it and anger because honestly, why does she even need to talk to him? Okay, so before anyone thinks I'm some insecure control freak, I want to back up and give some context. Like I said, I'm in 27M and my girlfriend, let's call her Anna for privacy, is 26F. We met in the most cliche way possible at a friend's birthday party. I wasn't even planning on going because I had work the next morning, but one of my buddies basically dragged me along, and there she was, laughing too loud at some dumb joke, wearing this oversized sweater that didn't match her jeans at all, and somehow she just stood out. We ended up sitting on the couch talking for half the night, and I remember thinking, oh crap, this girl is trouble in the best way possible. Our relationship started off fast, like we clicked immediately. Within a month, we were officially dating, and by 6 months, we were basically inseparable. I won't lie, she's one of those people who brings energy into every room, and I've always been a little more reserved, so in a way, we balance each other out. She pushes me to be more social, and I ground her when she gets overwhelmed. When it comes to trust, I'll be real. I've never been a super jealous guy. I had one serious girlfriend before her, and that ended because of distance, not cheating or drama. So when Anna and I got together, I was like, clean slate. I trust you until you give me a reason not to. She has a lot of friends, guys and girls, and I've never once tried to police who she talks to. She's gone out for girls' nights that ended up including a couple dudes, and I didn't freak out. If anything, I prided myself on not being that boyfriend who checks her phone or demands constant updates. That's why this whole situation feels so weird to me, because we've built this relationship on mutual independence and trust, but lately it feels like she's crossing some invisible line that I didn't even know we had until it was happening. And here's the kicker. She's always been really open with me. Like, the first month we were dating, she told me about her last serious relationship. She didn't sugarcoat it. They were together for 2 years. He broke her heart, and it took her a long time to move on. At the time, I actually thought it was good she was honest. Everyone has a past, right? But now, 3 years later, that past is suddenly texting her again, and it's not sitting right with me. So, yeah, about the infamous ex. Let's call him Mark. From what Anna told me, they dated for a little over 2 years, starting when she was in college and ending maybe a year before she met me. According to her, it was a pretty serious but messy kind of relationship. The kind where they loved hard but fought even harder. She said he could be manipulative, kind of selfish, and not super stable. Eventually, things just crumbled, and she swore she was done with him for good. When we first got together, she brought him up a few times, usually in the context of, wow, I can't believe I put up with that, or here's so much better than my ex. I didn't love hearing about him, but I brushed it off. Everyone compares new partners to old ones in their head sometimes, right? And besides, I figured the more she processed it, the more she'd move on. For the first couple years, Mark was basically a non-factor. Like, I knew his name, I'd seen one or two old pictures when I scrolled back too far on her Instagram, but that was about it. No random texts, no accidental run-ins, nothing. Honestly, I thought we were in the clear. But then maybe 3 or 4 months ago, she casually mentioned that he had reached out just to see how she was doing. At first, I didn't think much of it. People check in with old friends sometimes. But then it became more than once. A random, how are you here? Saw this meme and thought of you there. And I noticed her smiling at her phone sometimes, and when I'd ask, she'd say, oh, it's just Mark, nothing important. And that's when this little pit of unease started growing in my stomach. Because look, I'm not naive. I know exes don't just pop up out of nowhere without some kind of motive, especially not an ex she once described as manipulative. And yet here he was, sliding back into her life like nothing ever happened. The part that really stuck with me was how defensive she got when I even slightly questioned it. Like one time she was texting late at night and I jokingly said, what, you and your ex are pen pals now? Expecting her to laugh it off. Instead, she got super serious and said, he's been through a lot lately and I don't want to just ignore him when he's reaching out as a friend. And that word, friend, just, it hit me wrong. I've never thought of exes as just friends. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, maybe I'm insecure, but to me, once you've been romantically involved with someone, the friendship thing gets complicated. Sure, some people make it work, but more often than not, there's some leftover tension. So now, every time her phone buzzed and she smiled, I found myself wondering, is it him? What's he saying? Why does she need him when she has me? I hated feeling like that because I don't want to be the jealous boyfriend, but ignoring it was getting harder and harder. The past few weeks have felt like a slow boil, the kind where you don't notice the water heating up until it's already steaming. At first, the texting between Anna and Mark was once in a while. Like, she'd get a random message, laugh about it, and maybe respond. I'd raise an eyebrow, but she'd wave it off with a, don't be silly, it's nothing. But then it stopped being once in a while. It was every few days, then every day. And it wasn't just quick check-ins either. They were having actual conversations. I'd noticed she'd be glued to her phone while we were watching a show, typing paragraphs while I sat next to her pretending not to notice. Or she'd get a notification at dinner, glance down, and suddenly seem distracted. The thing that really made me start spiraling was the secrecy creeping in. Anna has never been shady with her phone before. Like, she'd toss it on the coffee table, leave it face up, whatever. Lately, though, I noticed she started keeping it face down. Once I came into the room, and she immediately locked the screen and shoved it in her pocket. And my stomach just dropped. I tried to bring it up gently at first. I said something like, hey, you've been talking to Mark a lot. What's going on there? She gave me the standard, or just catching up, it's not a big deal. But the way she said it, defensive, like I was accusing her of something, made me feel like maybe it was a big deal. Then there were the little things that added fuel to the fire. She started mentioning him casually in conversation, like, oh, Mark told me about this show we should watch, or Mark recommended this restaurant. And each time it was like a tiny jab in my chest, because why does his opinion matter at all? Why is she taking suggestions from her ex when she has me sitting right here? The final straw before the blow-up was last weekend. We went out to grab drinks with some friends, and in the middle of the night, she was texting under the table. I leaned over, and sure enough, it was Mark. I didn't say anything then because I didn't want to cause a scene, but I felt humiliated. Here I am out with my girlfriend, and she's sneaking messages to the guy who once broke her heart. That night, when we got home, I barely slept. My brain kept looping. Why is she entertaining this? Does she miss him? Am I not enough? It was like this gnawing itch in my head I couldn't shake. And that's when I realized the next time it happened, I wasn't going to be able to bite my tongue anymore. It all came to a head on Tuesday night. Nothing special about the day. just a regular work day. I came home, we made dinner together, and things felt pretty normal. But as soon as we sat on the couch afterward, she pulled out her phone and, like clockwork, she started typing with that little half smile she gets. I didn't even have to ask who it was. I just knew. And something inside me finally snapped. I tried to stay calm at first. I said, "Anna, are you seriously talking to Mark again?" She barely looked up, just muttered, "Yeah, he had a rough day. I'm just checking in." And that's when the words tumbled out of me before I could stop them. "If you feel the need to keep texting your ex, then maybe you should just date him again." The second I said that, the air in the room shifted like it was all the warmth had evaporated and we were suddenly sitting in this icy silence. She froze, her fingers hovering over the screen, and then slowly put her phone down like she was trying not to break something fragile. Her eyes widened, and she looked at me like I just slapped her. "Excuse me? Did you seriously just say that?" I doubled down because in that moment, my pride was louder than my fear. "Yeah, I mean it. If you still need him in your life that badly, maybe you shouldn't be with me. I'm not going to sit here while you prioritize your ex over your boyfriend." She immediately got defensive. Her voice went sharp. "I am not prioritizing him. He's been going through a lot, and it's called being a decent human being. Just because you're insecure doesn't mean I'm doing anything wrong." That word, insecure, hit me like a sucker punch. My chest actually hurt hearing it. I snapped back. "This isn't about insecurity, it's about respect. Who sits around texting their ex while their partner is right next to them? Do you not see how messed up that is?" The argument spiraled from there. She accused me of being controlling, said she wasn't going to cut off someone who meant a lot to her just because I couldn't handle it. I shot back that she was disrespecting our relationship, that she clearly still had some kind of attachment to him if she was so protective about keeping him around. At one point, she actually said, "I can't believe you're giving me an ultimatum like this." And I said, "I can't believe you don't see why I had to." By the end, she was crying. Not loud sobbing, just silent tears sliding down her face while she stared at the floor. I felt this mix of anger and guilt, like I'd finally stood up for myself, but also like I had just dropped a bomb I couldn't take back. She went to bed early without saying goodnight. I sat on the couch in the dark for a long time, replaying the whole fight in my head, half convinced I was the bad guy, half convinced I was the only one seeing things clearly. The next morning felt like waking up in someone else's apartment. Same bed, same walls, same girl next to me, but the air was heavy, like a storm had passed through overnight and left everything damp and brittle. Anna barely looked at me when the alarm went off. She got ready for work in silence, brushing her hair in the bathroom with the door half closed, and when she finally did speak, it was a flat, "I'll see you later." No kiss goodbye, not even a half smile. Just gone. I sat there at the kitchen table afterward, staring at my coffee going cold, and honestly, my chest felt hollow. Part of me was still fired up, like, good, she should know I won't put up with this. But another part of me felt like absolute crap. I kept hearing my own words echoing in my head. Maybe you should just date him again. It sounded so harsh, like a door slamming shut. Did I mean it? In the moment, yes. But now, with the adrenaline gone, I wasn't sure. The whole day at work, I was distracted. Every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was her. Maybe a text saying she understood. Maybe even an apology. Instead, nothing. Radio silence. And, of course, my paranoid brain kept whispering, what if she's texting him instead? What if she's venting to him about you right now? That thought alone made my stomach churn. When I got home, it wasn't any better. She was there, sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, and the moment I walked in, she put it down and avoided eye contact. We had the most robotic conversation imaginable. "How is your day?" "Fine." "You?" "Fine." And that was it. The silence after each short exchange was deafening. That night in bed, I couldn't sleep.
I lay there, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts ping-ponging between guilt and indignation. On one hand, I felt like a complete asshole for making her cry. On the other, I couldn't shake the belief that I was justified. Because seriously, what kind of girlfriend thinks it's okay to keep constant contact with her ex, especially when she knows it's hurting her partner? But then again, was I overreacting? Was it really just harmless texting and I blew it up into something bigger because of my own insecurities? That word she threw at me, insecure, kept clawing at me. I hate it, but maybe there was truth in it. By the time the sun came up, I felt exhausted, both from lack of sleep and from being trapped in my own head. The silence between us was unbearable, but so was the thought of apologizing and looking like I was backing down from a boundary I felt was reasonable. So now I'm stuck, caught between wanting to fix things and wanting to stand my ground. And honestly, I don't know which one is the right move. The thing about fights like this is that they don't just stay contained to the moment. They ripple. They force you to start asking bigger questions about the entire relationship. That's what's been eating me alive since the argument. It's not just, was I wrong to say that? It's, what does this say about us? I keep circling around this word trust. To me, trust isn't just about believing someone won't cheat. It's about believing they make choices that respect you, even when you're not in the room. It's about not having to constantly wonder if you're being sidelined for someone else. Here's the thing. I've never asked Anna to cut off male friends. She has plenty. Some are coworkers, some are old classmates, some are just dudes she's known forever. I don't care, because there's no romantic history there. They're just friends, full stop. But an ex? That's a different category in my head. That's someone who once held the same role I do now. Someone who knew her intimately, who shared things with her that aren't just friendly. That doesn't just vanish. And it makes me wonder, am I old-fashioned for thinking this way? Some people say exes can be friends, that if you've truly moved on, it's no different than any other friendship. But I've also seen the other side. My buddy went through hell last year when his girlfriend stayed friends with her ex, only for him to find out they were hooking up behind his back the whole time. So yeah, maybe I'm jaded. Maybe I just don't buy the harmless friendship narrative. I keep going back to something my dad used to say. If you have to defend it so hard, maybe you already know it's wrong. And that's what gets me about Anna. If it really were nothing, why hide her phone? Why get defensive? Why cry when I call it out? Shouldn't she be able to say, hey, I get why you're uncomfortable, let's figure this out, instead of accusing me of being insecure? But then I hear her voice in my head, calling me controlling, and I start second-guessing myself. Am I just trying to justify my jealousy? Is this more about my pride than about respect? Because, yeah, I admit it, part of me feels replaced every time she smiles at her phone. And maybe that's my problem to deal with. I don't know. I feel like there's a fine line between setting a boundary and being controlling. And I can't tell which side I landed on. Boundaries are supposed to be about protecting yourself, right? But when they start sounding like ultimatums, do they cross the line into manipulation? And yet, I can't shake the belief that something here isn't right. If she really values me and our relationship, why is she so adamant about keeping him around? Why risk us for someone she claims is just a friend? It makes me wonder if maybe the deeper issue isn't about Mark at all. Maybe it's about how Anna and I see relationships differently. Maybe for her, exes can be friends. Maybe for me, they can't. And if that's the case, then what does that mean for us long term? I'll admit it, I caved and told a couple people about the fight. At first, I didn't want to. I hate airing relationship drama, and I didn't want anyone to judge Anna without knowing her the way I do. But the silence in the apartment was eating me alive, and I needed some kind of reality check. The first person I talked to was my best friend, Chris. He's known me since high school, so he's the type who doesn't sugarcoat. I told him about the ex, the texting, the fight, and my infamous line, "If you need to text him, date him instead." He didn't even hesitate before saying, "Honestly, dude, you're not wrong. That's shady as hell." Hearing that felt validating for about 5 seconds, but then he added, "But ultimatums are tricky. You back someone into a corner, they're more likely to push back than compromise. You should have set a boundary earlier instead of letting it fester until you blew up." And he wasn't wrong. I hadn't really communicated my feelings until I was already at my breaking point.
Later, I called my sister. She's a couple years older and has been married for a while. She tends to be more level-headed, so I figured she'd give me a different angle. And she did. She listened quietly, then said, "I get why you're hurt. I'd be upset too if my husband was texting his ex. But I also think you let your pride get the best of you. You basically told her to choose, and that's not the same as having an honest conversation." That stung. Because deep down, I knew she was right. I hadn't asked for compromise. I'd thrown down a line in the sand. My sister even said, "Look, boundaries are about what you'll tolerate, not about controlling someone else's choices. If she chooses to keep texting him, your boundary could be walking away. But telling her what she can and can't do, that sounds more like control." So now I've got Chris saying she's shady, and my sister saying you're controlling, and my own brain saying maybe you're both right. And the more I replay it, the more tangled it gets. To make things worse, I'm scared to tell anyone else, because if I tell more people and they all say she's right, then I'll feel like a complete jerk. But if they say I'm right, then I'll feel even angrier at her. Either way, it doesn't fix the fact that the two of us are stuck in this tense limbo at home. The outside opinions help me see the shades of gray, sure, but they also left me more confused than ever, because everyone seems to agree on one thing. This isn't just about texting. It's about deeper stuff: communication, boundaries, respect, and right now it feels like we're failing at all three. So here's where things are at right now. We're not broken up, but we're definitely not okay either. It's like living with a roommate you just had a blowout argument with, except this roommate also happens to be the person you're supposed to be closest to. It's been a few days since the fight. We've had conversations, but they're clipped, surface level, almost rehearsed. "Did you feed the cat?" "Yeah." "Do you need anything from the store?" "No." That's it. The warmth, the playfulness, the inside jokes, all gone, replaced by this weird politeness that feels colder than silence. And the worst part is, I have no idea what she's actually thinking. She hasn't brought up Mark, hasn't mentioned the fight, hasn't tried to defend herself again or apologize or anything. And that silence is almost scarier than her anger, because at least if she were yelling, I'd know she still cared enough to fight. Right now, it feels like she's just withdrawing. I keep catching myself analyzing every little thing she does. Like yesterday, she was sitting on the couch, scrolling on her phone, and I swear she tilted the screen away from me when I walked past. My stomach twisted immediately. Is it him again? Did she choose him after all? But then I feel insane, like I'm turning into the very insecure boyfriend I swore I'd never be. The apartment feels heavy with unspoken words. At night, we still sleep in the same bed, but we're on opposite edges, facing away from each other. No goodnight kiss, no casual touches, just the sound of two people pretending to sleep while wondering what the other's thinking. I'm torn in two directions. Part of me wants to break the silence, sit her down and say, "Look, I love you, but this situation is tearing me apart. We need to figure it out." The other part of me is stubborn, thinking, "No, she owes me that conversation. She's the one crossing the line, not me." But what scares me most is the thought that maybe she doesn't want to fix it. Maybe she's already decided in her head that this relationship is too much work. Maybe I handed her the perfect excuse to walk away and fall back into her ex's orbit. And the thing that eats me alive is that I don't know. I don't know where we stand. I don't know what she's feeling. I don't know if she's even still choosing me. And sitting in that uncertainty feels worse than the fight itself. So that's where I'm at. Stuck,
in this weird purgatory where I don't know if I just torpedoed a good relationship over nothing or if I finally drew a line that needed to be drawn. On one hand, I feel strongly that I had a point. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect your partner not to maintain this constant, borderline secretive contact with an ex. I don't think it's controlling to say, hey, this makes me uncomfortable, and I can't be okay with it. To me, that's just respect, choosing your current relationship over the ghost of an old one. But on the other hand, I can't ignore how much the way I said it has been haunting me. That line, if you need to text him, then maybe you should date him again, it came out like an ultimatum, like I was cornering her, forcing her to choose in that exact moment. And I get that no one likes being backed into a corner. Maybe if I had approached it differently, we could have had an actual conversation instead of this Cold War we're in now. I hate the idea that I might have reduced myself to the insecure, jealous boyfriend stereotype, because up until now, that's never been me. I've always prided myself on being trusting, chill, not the type to snoop through her phone or flip out over guy friends. But something about this situation, the secrecy, the history, the defensiveness, it just cut me deeper than I expected. And now here I am, wondering if I overreacted, wondering if I was projecting my own fears onto something harmless, wondering if I've damaged her trust in me by handling it badly. At the same time, a stubborn part of me keeps whispering, but what if you're right? What if she's crossing the line and you're the only one willing to say it out loud? Because if that's the case, then apologizing just to smooth things over feels like betraying myself. So yeah, that's my mess. I feel terrible for making her cry, and I miss the way things were before this blew up, but I also can't shake the feeling that maybe I'm justified. What do you think? Am I overreacting, or was I right to call this out and just really bad at the way I said it?